Lebanon is a tiny little country in the Middle East that hides something very few know about. There's a strange valley in the mountains where you can go fishing, but not for living fish. Instead, you can find fish fossils dating back from 100 million years ago, way before dinosaurs became extinct, in a time where the land was fully underwater and mountains weren't even there. And today the plan is to go there and see if we can find them and figure out why fish fossils are so fascinating. Since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with stones, minerals, basically all types of rocks. Unfortunately, I couldn't go look for amethysts or emeralds on my own because I was just a kid and Lebanon's geology had no interesting stones to offer apart from quartz. But at 8 years old, I found out that Lebanon had fish fossils, mainly because of its abundance of limestone and its old mountain chain. And I became obsessed. Anytime we could, we would go to the mountains, split some rocks open, and collect the fish fossils. And out of all the fossils I've ever collected, this one is my personal favorite. It's called a Nematonotus. The species has been extinct for millions of years now and doesn't exist anymore. And by the way, if you didn't notice, this is my personal collection of rocks and minerals or fossils that I've collected throughout the years. For example, this is a fossilized shell, also found in the Lebanese mountain chain. This is one of the biggest shells I found actually. Fossilized sea cucumbers. You got the point, there's a lot of rocks that I can find. Yeah, you never saw them before? That's a lot of hours, me being a kid and trying to find them. Okay, road trip in 3, 2, 1. Road trip! Good morning everybody. Today it is day 13 of the daily vlog. Right now we're going to Hakil. It's one of the 3 main spots where you can find fish fossils in Lebanon. And we're going to be meeting with Stephanie, who's going to be showing us around there. First stop of the day, we are eating knafes. You know what's knafes?
Sugar. Just sugar, man.
Bread, the best thing ever. Yum.
Sugar. Okay, it's not sugar. Knefe is basically cheese with sugar in kake bread. Sugar-loaded breakfast.
Yummy.
Hello, my English is very French.
It's very French.
After eating the classic Lebanese breakfast, we hopped back into the car to drive to the village of Hakil, 1 hour and a half away from Beirut.
Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we are arrived.
We headed straight to the exposition center of the Nohra family. Joseph Nohra has been searching for fossils for decades now, and today him and his daughter Stephanie will show us around, teach us how they work, and introduce us to the incredible world of paleontology. We just arrived. As you can see, there are fish fossils all around this room. It's crazy. Years and years of work. Paleontologists who came in Lebanon and studied the fish fossils, they got to study the whole evolution of fish around the world because the fish fossils in Lebanon are some of the best conserved in the world. And that's exactly the reason why the fish fossils in Lebanon are so important for the study of the evolution of fish, which is one of the most basic species on Earth. Right now we are with Stephanie and she's going to be explaining to us what the fossils are all about and the history of this specific village of Hakil and why there's so many fish fossils specifically here.
We are in Hakil at 700 meters above sea level. Everything was in the sea, like a shark, a ray, coelacanth, flying fish, octopus, shrimps, starfish.
Most of the fish fossils found in Lebanon are not even identified yet scientifically. We still don't know their place in the tree of evolution. This is really incredible.
More than 1,200 species were discovered and 400 of them have been identified. After heavy rains, microscopic animals and plants, plankton, developed on water surface. These plankton use all the oxygen in the water and they release materials that poison sea animals and cause their sudden death. They died and then they went to the bottom of the sea. The fossilization conditions at that period were excellent. From the Cenomanian age, Upper Cretaceous period. حقل كان جورة نزلوا كلهم بقلب هالجورة ثاقبت. من بعد ما صار تكتونيك بليت طلع هذا الجبل وما كان عندهم وقت دغري نزل sediments على قلب غطت الباديز تبع السمك. من هيك ما كان عندهم وقت انه يعملوا decompose. Erosion later revealed the layers where we can find these fossils.
That's why it's very rare to find really well conserved fossils. Okay.
Yes.
Wow, we're lucky in Lebanon to have had this coincidence.
This one, his name is Cyclobates.
This is so beautiful.
Okay, look what we have in the other side.
Oh my gosh, what? Okay. This is crazy. This is so rare, what an occurrence. And they're both conserved perfectly. This fish is called coelacanth. It still exists to this day, and it's the oldest fish that could be found fossilized. Paleontologists say that because of the existence of this fish, there's a link between life underwater and life on land. The coelacanth is super important to support the theory of evolution because it's one of the most recent shared ancestors between terrestrial and marine vertebrates. Not only did Joseph find all these fossils right here, but he also built this whole place with the rocks that he found in the excavation site. And in the rocks that he used, there is some fish fossils as well. And now we're going to the excavation site to actually find some fish fossils there with the legend Joseph, who's going to show us how to do it the right way. In the bus, and it's a bus that's used for work. They bring back the fossils. Are you ready, Stephanie?
Ready, yalla,
Let's do this. Doody, are you ready to find fish fossils? Going to the excavation site right now. Everyone's ready? Let's go! Okay, now we're walking towards the quarry. The whole valley is very lush. There's a lot of vegetation, but in the excavation point, you're gonna see a huge landslide of limestone, and it's in this limestone that we can find the fish fossils, actually. It brings me back to my childhood when I would do this. I would go to the other village where you can find a lot of fish fossils. It's like half an hour away from here. It's called Hajula, and I would spend literally like days with my tools to just break the limestone and find those fish layered in the rock.
The search begins.
Are you ready for the competition? Who can find the biggest fish possible today and not break it? The journey to the excavation site had officially begun. In the depths of the valley, Joseph opens the gate of no return, accessing the dense mystical forest. And that's when we started the perilous ascent. The quest was challenging, but finally we entered the lands of the past. This is the first excavation point. It's for a guy named Pierre Abissab. He's a paleontologist. He found one of the only octopus fossils in the world. And the conditions here were so perfect that even an animal like an octopus that doesn't even have a skeleton was able to fossilize in this limestone. And we're going to somewhere even more epic right now. It's the quarry of the Nohra family right behind us. And it's massive. Every time you look on the floor, you're gonna find a fish. This is the quarry. What do you think about it?
Very big.
Do you think you can find the biggest fish fossil?
I'm gonna try my best.
I am gonna do my best. We have arrived to the excavation site. That's where Joseph usually works. فيك تفسر كيف تشتغل هون؟
تطلع معي سمكة بجيبها لهون ترتقع على مهلي بحملها على ظهري وبروح. كان باي يزرع قمح صرنا نشتغل هون بالحجار مثل شني كانوا يزرعون عطنا بلاطة وكسرناها طلع فيها سمكة صرنا محافظين عليهم كنا نشيل سمك حد اليوم من 50 سنة 60 سنة لليوم بالأول ما كانوا يعرفوا قيمتهم الشغل متعب بس بحبه لأنه أنا تعودت عليه من الأول مصلحتي
He found this massive fish fossil 4 days ago. He's been excavating and he still needs to clean it a bit.
For excavation, we use only manual tools such as hammers, chisels, spades to avoid all what can damage the stone.
Crash course on how fossils work. In an old mountain chain, there's different layers of rock, and in between those layers, that's where you find fossils. This whole place was under the sea, and all those rocks are actually live creatures that died at least 100 million years ago. It's really hard to believe. Now Joseph is going to be showing us how he uses the chisel and the hammer to open some of the rocks. He can spot between the layers of limestone if there's a fish or not. Right here there is one, so he's going to try to break it. رح تجرب تكسرها ما هيك؟ Is there something?
يا لا كون طلع لا يا هاي مش كل الصخر بيطلع فيه هاي لعبة حظ أكيد مثل البحر كيف بتصيد سمك وهوني هاي وأيام بشتغل كل النهار ما بشيل شيء أيام بساعة بشيل قد نهار وأشياء اللي بتطلع قطعة كاملة ومنيحة هاي اللي بتكون حلوة وبنبسط فيها وقت بشيلها.
The fog is starting to kick in the valley. It gives it a mystical vibe, you know? It is competition time. We're gonna see who can find the biggest fish fossil today. Who thinks gonna win?
Of course me.
Everybody thinks they're gonna win. Following the methods of Master Joseph, the chisel on the rock, hammer. Ready for the big reveal? Oh wow, look at this. But unfortunately, it was not broken the right way. But I wasn't quite satisfied yet, so I kept on searching for about half an hour and found a couple of small fish here and there until I found a pretty decent one. Perfect example of a fish fossil that could have been beautiful, but unfortunately it's broken. The colors are a bit off also. But what about the others? What were they up to? Shadi and Stephanie teamed up, so the competition was fierce.
Alright, the moment of truth right here.
Yeah.
This is anything or no?
It's a fish.
This is a fish?
Yeah.
Let's go.
The rest of the group worked individually, and we're advancing pretty well, also finding some small fish here and there, but the team that deserves our special attention are Adam and Francisco, that were using quite peculiar methods. Yeah, Adam and Francisco basically went full ape mode. But surprisingly, it worked perfectly fine for them.
What? I found it! I actually found it! I just cracked over a random one.
Isn't it crazy to think that those fish are like 100 million years old?
Yeah, I don't know how to think in that measure of time, like 1 million years ago.
Crazy.
It's crazy. 1,000 years ago, we didn't have roads, not even electricity, so...
And towards the last 15 minutes of the tournament, Joseph quietly started to get to work. Competition time has officially ended. Now let's see who has the biggest fish of the day. Let's start with Adam.
I don't know if you're ready for this, but first one is always the best one. And we also have this bad boy.
Shadi.
Alright, so Stephanie and I operated as a team. I picked the rock, she broke him, and this is the one that we ended up finding. There we go.
It's a mirror image. What about you?
I found this.
So how many did you find?
I have 2 or 3 others.
I think my father has definitely found the most amount of fish, but they're all broken. So now Dudi.
I have this,
Oh wow.
and this.
Flo, what did you find?
Found this one, but I lost the tail. I also found this one with a lot of help from Stephanie.
For me, I found 2 beautiful fish, but the problem is they're both broken, so
Just in
it's not
case
really.
he will win, I am his father.
Maria.
Mine are really small.
I have
Okay.
nothing to do with her, okay?
I think I misunderstood the challenge. I think it was to find the smaller one. Because mine is really, really small.
What did you find? Wow. I think we have a winner right here. He found this fish in 10 minutes. The rest of the time he was just watching us do. And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna show you how to do it. Joseph, good job. Amazing.
شعوري أهلا وسهلا فيكم أول شيء.
Merci. Now we're going back to Beirut to have an interview with someone that's really interesting. He has a museum. Let's go and see what this museum is about. It's really interesting. Let's get into it. Let's go. Road trip back to Beirut. We're going to MIM, Musée des Minéraux. Let's go!
Back in the city.
Now we just arrived in the Minerals Museum. We're going to be meeting Salim Eddé, who's going to be explaining to us a bit more about fossils in Lebanon. Just to give you an example of the stuff Salim collects, this is probably the biggest quartz I've ever seen in my life. It's rare to see crystals that big, especially with quartz, and it was found in Brazil. And every piece of rock or a fossil that you can find in his museum, he collected in himself and spoke to every individual that owned the crystal, the mineral, or the fossil. It's really impressive.
My name is Salim Eddé. I started collecting rocks because I find it fascinating to have all these geometric shapes that are totally natural. All my fellow countrymen kept on asking me, why don't we have minerals from Lebanon? Well, it's not my fault. Lebanon geologically was made like that. But since Lebanon was the bottom of a sea, that was not really the ideal thing to have nice minerals. We have nice fossils, which is why 4 years ago I started the second part of the museum that is devoted to the Lebanese paleontology, and more precisely the marine fossils that you have seen.
Salim brought us to the incredible fossils department. Not only do they display fish fossils here, but also other species that significantly contributed to biology and science as a whole. And lucky for us, Salim was here to explain it all in detail.
In Lebanon, in a couple of square kilometers, they have found already 429 extinct species. In a huge deposit like Green River, Wyoming, in the United States, 30,000 square kilometers, which is 3 times Lebanon, they have found 29 extinct species. Lebanon, 100 million years ago, was not here. It was part of a shallow sea. All the fish choked and died at the same time, as you see here, because probably you had a proliferation of algae or God knows what that depleted the oxygen. The water was very poor in oxygen, and so nothing that deteriorated bodies. Third piece of luck, a shower of sediment covered the fish, preserving the trace of the fish. And then the cycle started over again. Thousands of years later, this fish and this shark, they died at intervals of thousands of years.
Salim then showed us some of the unique samples found in his museum, like the fossil of a sea turtle discovered in Namura, which is actually the first trace of a marine turtle ever found, or also one of the extremely rare octopus fossils.
It's so well preserved. Guess what this black spot is?
Is it the ink?
It's the ink sac.
Oh my
You have the
God.
trace of the ink sac.
In the museum, you can also find the fossil of a pterodactyl, a cousin species of dinosaurs.
It is the only complete pterodactyl that was found in all of Africa and the Middle East. It was a new genus and a new species of pterodactyl not found anywhere else in the world. I gave it the official Latin name, Mimodactylus libanensis, because it's a pterodactyl that is in the meme and it was found in Lebanon.
That's so cool.
Big dinosaurs disappeared 66 million years ago. Only small dinosaurs survived, those that were covered with feathers that protected them from the big transformations in the climate of our planet. And progressively they evolved into our modern birds.
And based on its fossil, an artist created an accurate model of the beast.
So this is the actual size of the beast.
Lebanon significantly contributed to natural history by filling important gaps in the study of evolution.
The study of lizards and snakes led scientists believe that snakes and lizards originate from the same four-legged animal. Snakes being lizards that progressively lost their limbs to adapt to their burrowing habits. And they found in Lebanon the missing link, a snake having still two small hind legs. So this is very important scientifically because this gives credit to the theory that snakes originated from a four-legged animal.
Now this museum is divided into two parts. There's the fossils and the minerals. The thing is that we won't have time to see the minerals, so we're going to be doing this another time. Leaving the museum and retracing what we had done today was a big reminder for me that we as a society need to make science more interesting for kids. My sister was so happy to be out there listening, exploring, and seeing for herself what fish fossils were about. And what she learned today will probably stay in her memory for a while. Now, compare this to when I was briefly taught about fossils in school. It was boring, not because of the subject itself, but because of the way it was taught. In a closed room with every student caring more about having a good grade in the exam instead of developing a passion for the topic. The school system just kills curiosity, and that's maybe why few people in Lebanon know about its fish fossils and how they contributed to the knowledge of humankind in the fields of paleontology, biology, and science. But thanks to experienced, but most importantly passionate people like Stephanie, Joseph, and Salim, the knowledge and awareness of the precious natural heritage of the country can be shared and passed down to the next generations in a fun way. When we asked Salim why he opened his museum, his answer was simple.
You know, I've been a temporary custodian of these things that predate me by millions of years and that will survive me by millions of years. So show kids and students that science can be fun. Try to share the beauty of our nature and, add something more to Beirut.
And that goes to show that contributing to science or any other field of knowledge lives way beyond our short years on the planet. That's why it's so crucial to educate the youth in the right way today. It also makes us realize how insignificant we are as humans. So much has happened before us, and so much will happen afterwards. We're just apes that are aware enough to understand the what, the how, and the whys of existence.
That's a wrap for today. I hope we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
Daily vlog, baby.